Oh, how about now?
What you?
Because
you want to turn that microphone back on?
No, we won't see in a second.
Because it's still like, is it just this mic?
Well, yeah, it's that mic right there, but I was want to see. How do it sound now?
I got nothing here.
All right, hold on. The screen's going to change because it's showing me. Right now, it wasn't showing me. It's a little delayed. Let's give it a second here. Good news is, Sherri, the first part of the audio we got is good.
Okay.
All right. I want you to talk. I need you to start talking, Sherri. You'll be singing, whatever.
Say something.
Okay, you want me to sing? Let me see what I'm going to sing. Let me see what I'm going to sing.
What you have for dinner last week?
What I have for dinner. Listen.
You hear her? All right, we good. Okay. I'm not going to hang up with you.
I just heard it say okay.
Oh,
You want me to sing? Let me
yeah.
see what I'm
Okay, that's better.
We good.
Okay. I can live with the delay.
Yeah, delay's fine.
Long
We
as
good
it
at
ain't-
that point.
As long as we ain't cutting up chickens up in here.
All right. We good now. Audio's good. All right, so
Okay.
I'm not going to hang up. We're going to keep you right here. I'm just going to go back here real quick.
All right.
Hold on. Use the air, code 17.
ID10T error.
Right. Use the air. Is your volume coming all the way up? No. Hello.
It should be. Turn your volume.
Is your audio on, Steph? Because now I don't
No,
have
I
nothing.
turned it back down so you know how we do it.
Is this it?
Use the air, code 17.
Okay, let her talk.
All right, go ahead, Sherri. I need you to say something, please.
Something, please. What I have for dinner. Listen.
I think we're good. All right, we good. We good now. Okay. I'm not going to hang up with you. Hey, you're late. Yeah, you behind.
I'm good.
But you good, though. As long as you get here now, right?
Okay.
No? Yeah? We good? All right.
Sounds good.
Something, please.
There we go. We good now. All right. All right, we good now. We're about to get this rolling. Baby, your mic is, you're, all right, thanks, because we're getting a lot of feedback from you. Ooh! Other because you still, because we're using a Rogue, so we can hear everything. Baby, you breathing too loud.
You know
Okay. All right. We good? Sherri, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Cool. Listen, I'm just gonna start it right here, so we don't gotta. So I'm gonna hit the intro real quick, and then we'll just go right into it. Okay?
All right.
All right. We don't gotta start over. You just pick up. We left off the app. So, all right, here we go.
I don't know if I can.
You gonna do it?
I've been riffing.
All right, hold on, y'all. Make sure I get that right.
Welcome to the Chop Team. I'm your host, Seth the Dark Child.
I'm your host, Twinsinc.
Our show is about two guys and any friends that happen to come over with a topic that we want to chop up.
This is our barbershop style podcast. We discuss it all. If the fellas at the shop will go in on it, we will. Let's chop it up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we is back. First off, I want to say thank you for everyone who stayed in, listened to us, worked through it. You know what I'm saying? You know, right now it's just us. So eventually we won't have our own production studio. We want people behind the scene working for us. But right now we got to do it ourselves right now. You know, we got to build it. What Kevin say? Build as you fly?
Yep. Build it as you go.
Build as you go, right?
That's what we're doing.
So this is still the same topic, part 2. We ain't not going to start all over again. But Sherri and Seth, the DaChop, were having a great conversation. Do y'all remember what the last thing y'all was saying?
I don't remember, but I think I was on the point where the over-sexualization of people has to be a choice that our sisters will have to make. And that, and just to finish that off, I think, is that we don't control our own media. We don't control the algorithms that control what we see on YouTube and Facebook. All we can do is control what we put out there, because they tend to feed back to us any negative stereotype that can be attributed to us is instantly broadcast in the most negative manner fashionable. And I'm going to say that it's up to our sisters to choose. We can't make them do this. You guys have to make this decision.
Was that a question, Sherri?
While I was ending that statement, so Sherri, from your point of view, okay, let me finish. I'm sorry. Just to tie it back in with the breakdown of the black relationships, from a real point of view, black men feel that based on the media, black women are loud, argumentative, over-sexualized, and combative. If it's not the black women doing it, if it's the images that we're being fed, who is it going to be on to change those images or change that perspective?
Perfect question. And the answer is black men and black women.
Huh?
That's the answer.
How is it? Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Because if we acknowledge all that you just said, which I agree with the part around us not controlling our the media and how and what gets pushed to the forefront when it represents us. Mm-hmm. So then, if both black men acknowledge that and black women acknowledge that, then black men and women can then change the narrative. It can't be pushed solely on the shoulders of black women, right? Just like for decades and decades and decades, the conversation has been how black men have been portrayed in the media. That you're either an athlete, you're some sort of entertainer, rapper, whatever, mm-hmm. or you're a criminal, mm-hmm. right? Or deadbeat dad. Like there's only like certain lanes that black men have fit in, and we as a people, black women and black men, have pushed back against that. Even though there are black people who are athletes, there are black men who are rappers and whatever. There are black men who are gangbangers. There are black men who are deadbeat fathers, right? So there are those people who represent those groups, but they are not representative of all black men. And we have pushed back against that narrative, and we continue to push back against that narrative. So what I'm speaking about is, where is that same energy and same alliance from black men when it comes to this narrative that is being pushed about Black women. And what the troubling thing is that I'm seeing is that instead of aligning with us to say that ain't most Black women, that you have a lot of Black women that are Black men that are hopping on these bandwagons, which are driving us into the ground. These trains are riding us nowhere. And so we need that same energy now to say, yeah, are there Black women who are part of this particular group and part of this? Yes. But are they representative of most Black women? No. And that's not, and we're not getting that same alliance from Black men. And so I think that's the frustration for a lot of Black women when we're looking like, so where y'all at? Where y'all at? And instead, you know, what I have seen on, like I said, on these social media platforms, not just Clubhouse. The conversation on Clubhouse today was just probably like the one that just was a tipping point, but is like the criticism constantly of like, oh, Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion and blah blah blah, and you don't see these other people doing that, and that's just simply not true. Like, that's just not true. And so why is it that when we do it, it's the most horrible thing in the world? And I'm not saying that we should be compared to other people, because if anyone knows me, has always said, I don't believe that whiteness is the standard. I think that that's where Black people go wrong with using, oh, well, white people are watching us and white people think this. That's not a standard to me, because they have shown us what their standards and morals are, and I don't want no parts of that. But what I'm saying is, what are we gaining by tearing each other down? And the same way that Black women push back against, yeah, there are going to be some women who had that experience, a negative experience with Black men, but for the most part, that's not representative of most Black men. And we push back against that narrative. So where's the Black Man Alliance to push back against this narrative that we are loud and argumentative and this and that and all these other horrible things that are being pushed to the forefront of the media that
okay.
They say that we are.
Okay, here's a few items I'll throw on the table. Agree or disagree? First, the blackdemographics.com. 61% of all black men are in the middle class. Most of us don't have criminal records, but they don't give us shows because we are quiet and nerdy or whatever. We black men have learned to shut up. Truth be told, we've learned to shut up and move in silence, because the moment we get noticed, something tends to knock us down.
Facts.
All right. So the more visible you become, the more of a target you become. We've also learned from a painful experience that the persons that knock us down are a lot of times our complexions. Okay. So when you say women are doing what they want to do. So this is that alliance you're talking about. We can't make you follow our lead. We can only do what we can do to survive every day, in which most black men are not game bangers, or not drug dealers, or not ball players. Most of us go to work 9 to 5 and come home. The problem is that a lot of our women have told us in every action that you guys have taken that nerdy, going to school, going to work, quietly living a middle class life isn't what you guys want. The problem, and my mama told me this, I just want to say this, my mama said this, the quiet child gets less attention. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The loud child gets all the attention. So, yeah, the good child is the one that went to college and got a house and a car and doing what they want to do quietly, reasonably. The little bad crackhead cousin or child that stayed in trouble, that's the one who mama spent all the time and energy on. Okay? Now, women, and I'm going to keep saying women, because men do police other men. We do this. It doesn't always work. There was no controlling somebody like Tupac. There was no controlling him. There's no controlling Suge Knight. You know, we don't throw them old school names out like that. But for the most part, We get what we're gonna get. We try to conform to America because we can't survive being loud. They kill us. But black women, y'all got none of that. There is nobody telling Meg Thee Stallion or Cardi B to shut the blank up. And when I pull up to another black woman, okay, I'm personal. You know, I heard my ex-wife listening to, she called me, my son was in the car. My son is 15, one of my sons was 15, and I heard WAP on the radio, right? So I had words about that. The point being is, if you're listening to that, if you're choosing to listen to that at our age, because I damn sure listened to NWA and Too Short when I was in my 20s, but I wouldn't listen to that now, and I'm not feeding that to my kids. But as an older woman, you still listening to this. You're not doing what I want you to do. You're not doing what I think is right, and I can't make you. But if you're not going to do what I want you to do, what alliance are we talking about? Because if you're not going to follow my lead, I'm still going to go my path. That's where the disconnect is coming from. What do you as a female want? And what are you willing to do to get it? And then you find allies. You don't get allies just because.
No. And I have to push back against that because black men didn't ask for black women to be allies. We showed up.
When?
And so it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a. When? What are you going to do for me? What do you mean when? The reason that you're very survival. The reason that I'm going to tell you when. I mean, when any time in history when it comes to black people, when black women not showed up. And the reality is when
to get housing.
No, you have to be fair. You have to be fair. When you start even going back to slavery, right? If we go back to slavery and how it systematically was broken, the man was taken out of the house systematically, right? And the woman was done with however master wanted to do with her. Mm-hmm. That she still held herself. She still held it down. She still held it. She still held it together.
That's not held down. That's called survival.
But
holding it down, survival, holding it together, whatever. You survived. We made it through because we're still here.
That doesn't give you a notch because you survived.
Of course, it gives you a notch, Dwayne. Because what?
Because no.
Okay.
Listen. I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but you said
they didn't fold. Black women didn't fold.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, the black men didn't fold. So what are you saying there?
Right. So what I'm saying, he said that when has it been an ally? You didn't have to ask. Black men didn't have to turn to black women and say, "We need you." Black women showed up. When you have now, even starting from the big high profile, murders of unarmed black men. Those were black women that showed up. Did black men show up? Of course.
Have you read the platform for Black Lives Matter? Before we even go there.
I'm not even going to Black Lives Matter.
Okay.
I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about who most times is on the forefront. The ones who are pushing these things are black women. Yes, there are black men that are part of it, but black men didn't have to ask for black women to show up. And that is the difference. So what you're saying is that black women got to get it together first. And then you can come and seek an ally. No. That's not how black love works. No. That's not how black love works. You show up because you love me. You love us. You love us as a people and you want us to do better. So I'm going to show up for you. I don't have to ask you to do that. And if it's conditional, then that's not love. That's not love. If it's conditional, if it's dependent on what you do and how you move it, then that's not love.
All right, Sherri, so I have a question here because you jumped from slavery all up to the 2000s, so I'm confused there because you went from the old to new. So
I'm just saying it started from way back.
Let's go back so the listeners and everybody can understand what you're saying. So you're saying in slavery days, the men and women were separated, right? You agree to that?
Right.
And the women
Agreed.
And the women were forced to survive, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the men were still forced to survive.
Right.
Okay, so during that time frame, did the men dismiss the woman back then?
No, I never said that.
And did the woman dismiss the men back then?
No.
Okay, so I just want to get the understanding of that point there before we move forward.
He said about the ally part, and I said that women never had, black men never had to ask. We always showed up.
Okay.
Whether it was from those times where we were in very bad positions. I mean, yes, slavery obviously is way worse than what we're dealing with now in 2021.
Facts.
But what I'm saying is that it wasn't any where men had to be like systematically saying, where is the black woman? Now, I will agree with that when he says that there are times where black women have been super critical of where black men and how they have shown up and been present. I agree with that. And that wasn't to our benefit either in the manner that it was being pushed, right? Because we do need to have hard conversations. But what we don't need to do is desecrate the other one in the name of saying we're being honest and truthful. There's no love in that. There's no love in that. That's pushing an agenda that's contrary to black family, to black love, to black marriage, to all of those things. And so my point is that when I'm saying about why should black women, if you know that, or maybe you don't believe this, but that the reality is that most black women are not these argumentative, combative, loud, over-sexualized or hypersexualized people, then the narrative that's being pushed, when it's being pushed, why don't black men join in and say that is not true? That's what I'm asking. Because black women did it for black men and nobody had to ask us. So why haven't black men done that for black women? And I feel that when you have that, then this is the problem with the black relationship. Because we can't align that we are in this together. We're not here to put you down. You shouldn't be here to put me down. We should be trying to build each other up. Yes, tough conversations, 100%.
Okay.
But those conversations should be rooted in love and not desecration of the other person or the other group of people.
Okay. Let me voice my opinion. I agree with the spirit of what you just said. I do. I do agree with it should be rooted in love, but we're at hard. When you whoop your child and when you discipline your child, that discipline was rooted in love, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you hurt that child but it was out of love. That's where we're at now. Okay. Now, when you say, when I'm throwing out stuff that black women have to choose, black men have never been able to control black women since we came to this country. Okay? So the black community is a matriarchy, right? It's funny to me that a lot of black women come to black men and say we need to come together on certain topics, but when you chasing that bag, you could give a F about us, right? When you go into school and you got to do this and it ain't about us, it's about you. And if I tell you you're doing something that hurts my feelings as a black man to a black woman, I am not going to say all black women, because once again, the black women who are holding you down, it's a lot of, my boy is married. All right. I wish I had met a woman like this in my youth versus the couple that I did run into. Okay. I wish, but I didn't. Now, 50 years ago, that's when I said, when were we allies? Because we can talk about slavery. I'm not even going to discuss that because that opens up a whole another thing. We can talk about the period after slavery, though, when it was just us in the dirt. 80% of black people got married from 1865 until 1960. Were
we allies then?
Yes, we were allies. We had the civil rights movement. No matter how bad it was, we still had each other. This is 1960. Okay, 1970s roll around after Martin Luther King is killed, after Malcolm X are killed, and the government, because this needs to be level set, because it was a point when women had to make a choice. After that, the U.S. government decided what would destroy the black power base, because they did not want another Malcolm and Martin. What would destroy the black power base? You had to separate the men from the women. That's what they said. You can, historical notes. This is a conversation Richard Nixon had. They discussed this. Okay? Okay, so let's black people are poor. Why? Because they knew we were poor. Put them in houses. Put them in what's called projects. You should actually think about what a project is. Let's put them in substandard conditions with no future, no hope, no money, no resources, and let's see what happens. That was that was a project. We are the result of that project. Okay? Now, and then on top of that, let's say that they can't have men in the house if they want to have a roof over their head. All black people didn't live in the projects, but a good percentage of us did. If we wanted public assistance, you couldn't have a man helping you out. Not all black people were on public assistance. A good percentage of us were. Okay? At that point, women had to decide, and bear in mind, 1966, 80% of black people were married. Men and women striving in the dirt to stay together as a family. 1980, Ronald Reagan comes out with no-fault divorce. All of a sudden, the black women said, if I leave this black man, I don't have to be poor anymore. The government will give me money, and they'll put a roof over my head, and they'll give me food. But I can't have a black man with me. Look at the marriage.
I've heard you say this before, and I would think that you would, and just not to cut you, I want you to finish, but that black women are not this silly, right? Like, we're not that silly, right? And I think that we're kind of selling ourselves short to say that
survival.
No, because even I don't remember. There's a movie. It's before my time, but I've seen the movie since for social work reasons, but. It's a movie from the 70s, and they were showing how when the lady from welfare would come, they would hide all the stuff that showed that the man was in the house.
Yes.
Right? Because black people are not silly, right? So that, yes, the rules may have said one thing, but we were not that silly that we would just be like, honey, I don't need no man. I want no man being here. No, we understand that that just like how people still beat the system out now, that's what was going. There was a lot of people who still had men around, but they understood that couldn't be known, and they trained their kids and stuff to say that there was no guy. Like, so we're not that silly that we just were like, you came out with these things, so we just pushed all our men out the window. Also, drugs. Drugs in the 70s and 80s.
Time out. I like it when you do this, but you throw a lot of stuff on the table. All of that need to be unpacked. So we're gonna come back to the drugs because that happened too. But what you just said, black people aren't that silly. Yeah, we were, because what did you teach the children?
I understand that
when you were hiding the men, you taught the children.
I understand that.
You taught that generation, my generation. That men are less, that men can't be around, that men don't need to be seen.
We didn't teach them that.
Yes,
we didn't teach them that. What you just described was you just described the system. And a woman is trying to survive in the
system. That's called the matrix.
So the system taught them that.
System.
I agree with you. But you can't say the black woman did that. The system created a situation that invalidated a black man in that black household.
Who benefit from it? Who benefit from it?
And who had to agree at that?
Well, the black woman didn't benefit from it because look at the conditions that.
Before when I'm saying benefit, someone had to go to an office and sign a paper and say, yes, I agree that I don't have a man in my house and I want this assistant. Is that true or false? The man can't do that. The man can't go and say, hey, I want to get my baby mom over here at this assistance. No, the mother had to go there and say, I have these kids. I have no man in the house. I'm going to sign this document. No, I have no man in the house.
Right.
And I agree that you'll do monthly or weekly checkups to make sure I have a man in the house. Did the woman do that or did the man do that?
The woman did that.
Okay, look, accountability. I'm not saying what it is.
But that's not the woman's fault. That's not the woman's fault.
Well, it is.
Listen, Sherri. I agree with you saying. Listen. We understand that there are some men who agree to do that, right? We know people who beat the system. We know that there's men out there say, hey, babe, I can't make my good money, but listen, put me in the system, right? I'm gonna make sure I in and out of the house, stay at my boy's crib, but I'm still gonna be around and support you. But we're not talking about those people. We're talking about the ladies out there who decide not to have the man at all, no agreement signed up to do, to make sure he's out the house so she can get a benefit for not having the man in the house. Those are the ones we're talking about, and that's a bigger number.
Who would do that? Like, logically, come on, guys.
Who do that? I know that. Listen,
No,
group
hear
on
what I'm
Logic. I
saying.
know this.
Who
We
would
say
do
who. They do that. That's why we have.
What I'm saying to you is logic. Let's think about this from a very
That is logic.
superficial, logical point of view. No, hear what you're saying. That a woman
Yes.
who's a human who has needs and all these other things
You had me.
would choose not to have a man
Yes.
so she can get $92 a month. Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you know,
Are you
back then,
serious?
$92 was a lot of
No,
money, so
no.
that's fair.
Now
Let me clarify
what you're saying is that no, come on, guys. No person is gonna say I don't want no man because I'm getting $90. Now, what they may say is, you can't be in my house because I can't have these people catch you in here and I lose these benefits. That's very different than saying I don't want a man. That's not the same thing. Same thing.
Two things happen with what you just said. Yes, you did have to make that decision. See, you don't have to like what you're hearing, but take emotion out of it.
Okay.
You were surviving. So
but whose fault is that? You keep blaming the black woman.
No, listen. See, here's the point, and this is where black women have. I always blame black women. I'm not blaming black women, but there has to be, if there's a problem, something had to have caused the problem. The U.S. government, there are layers to this, and we're trying to simplify it, and obviously we're failing with that right now. But there are layers to this. This wasn't just a one-time circumstance. The government didn't give you a choice. The government created a situation and circumstance, and then limited your choices. And in that limited choice set, yes, it did boil down to a yes or no statement. But it's not to say that you didn't have $1 billion and a rich auntie and a rich grandparent and a college education, and you had multiple options. The government systematically over decades and centuries limited.
So whose fault is that?
We said this. The government did it, but when the government said we've effed up your whole existence, these are the choices available to you.
So whose fault is that? That's what I'm saying. Whose fault is that? Because you're saying that the woman signed a paper, but the woman signed the paper because of all the reasons that you just described, that she had limited circumstances. If I can't afford to live outside of this, right? Mm-hmm. I have to have a roof for me and my kids. And the man, who's the man, is not able to provide me a situation outside of this because of his finances may not be all of that either, then it is a mechanism of survival. And unfortunately, the government exploited that. So you can't turn and say it's the woman's fault. That is not true.
Time out. Because so we're at this point, we're still in the 70s, right? 70s and early 80s. See,
still in the 70s and early 80s.
I'm not talking. See, right now, you're assuming that those same situations exist now that existed then. They do not. But what happened was once you made that decision, there were a cascade of other choices that were made step by step by step to get us where we're at now. Okay? So when you made that decision in the 70s, right? It was for survival. Circumstances change, generations grow up, kids grow up, people make more money, right? But at that point, you have been taught from a young age, per se, that particular generation, that I can make it without a dude. Okay? Now, I'm going to throw that. The boys still got to figure out how to keep a roof over their head because at 18, we had to get out. So guess what we had to learn how to do? Take care of ourselves. We might be able to fall back on our mamas and all that, but the truth is, at 18 years old, I have to get out of my mama's house in the projects. My sister can keep living there. And if my sister has a baby, so now we're back into single parenthood, they will give her an apartment. That still doesn't mean that the baby daddy can stay there. So men and women have diverged at this point. Once again, it's still a choice. Because you could have chosen, like they did in the 70s, to keep struggling for whatever you could get. It became easier and convenient to let the government help you. So when you saying women are not that silly, they gave you a limited set of choices, keep struggling or we can help you a little bit. You got tired of struggling. But black boys never got that option. We at 18, we back in the same ghetto and struggle that we were always at, but women got benefits we didn't get. And you had to keep choosing to take those benefits. It doesn't have to be you. but it's slowly permeated throughout the entire population. People who don't even live in the projects have project mentalities. That's all I'm saying, okay? So when I say that black women left us and y'all diverged, it slowly over the last 50 years put us in different places. And you guys have to choose to come back, because it doesn't make sense for us to bow down to what we thought was a I would call it unethical process in the first place. So I want you can feel free to chime in at this point, but it wasn't a one-time choice. It's been slowly and insidious over the last 50 years to put us right where we're at having this conversation.
Yeah, and I agree that.
Breathe, sis, breathe.
I have to breathe because okay. So just like I asked last week, I'm going to ask the same question again, which is, so where's the accountability of the black male in all of this?
What accountability? What? And once again, what do you want us to be accountable for? Lay it out real simple.
Okay, so you kind of don't want to acknowledge that it's the system that no, hear me out. What you said is that the system created a situation, but the woman inevitably continued to make a decision which pushed the black male out, right? Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, then if the black male was around and he was providing, and he could provide better than what was being offered to her through public assistance or through public housing, then do you think that the woman would still choose that $92?
Well, now you get down to the simple part of what standard are you basing it on as far as provisioning, okay? Now, white men in America, average median income for white men in America is $52,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Average median income in America for black men right now is $41,000. White men earn $11,000 more per year on average than black men, right?
Right.
So it's not the same $92, but the point being, if a black woman wants to get with a black man, she is on average only looking at a potential income benefit of $42,000 a year, right? $41,000 a year. Now,
okay,
how much do you think it's worth to have a black man in your life versus the benefits you could get from being strong, independent, and making your own money? That's a choice. Now, that's where we're failing right now, because it's not about living in the projects. It's, you can do bad all by yourself, or do I want to be with this dude who's only going to benefit me X amount? That's where we're at right now. And it's still the same calculation that was being presented in the 70s. Nothing's changed. It's the same exact system. Women just have a different set. They can choose differently, but you have education, you have money in your pocket, you're strong, you're independent. Everything tells you don't need a man. And now you're like, well, he only worth $40,000 to me. I can do better than that by myself. That's the same exact choice that was presented in the 70s. And women, 76% of women, black women, will never get married and have never been married because they're making the same decision now that they began making in the 70s.
I don't think that that's the same, because the reality is the money that you're receiving from public assistance is not a lot of money, right? And so to say that women would choose, knowing that it's not that much money, I'm not going to get with this guy because he doesn't make a certain amount. That's just also, again, that's just not true, right? Because what you're Samuels. Oh God!
I'm just saying. Have you ever listened to Kevin Samuels? Before you go anywhere, you know women want money before some dudes have to make a certain amount of money to qualify for women. Period. They don't even care how you look or not. You have to have a certain amount of income to qualify to even talk to them. Do you know that happens, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I do understand that some women, and that's nothing wrong with having a standard. So I mean, that's a whole nother discussion in itself around why men think that that's problematic. But what I'm saying is that, okay, the money that women get from public assistance is crumbs, right? So even the benefit of living in public housing, if a man can offer an alternative, which would be to reside in a more stable place.
Say that again.
A woman, I said, if a man would have given an alternative to live in a more stable place, that's what I think most women would choose. I don't see a woman saying, no, I don't want to move out of the project so I can stay here and get my $92. Like, it to me, that just is very simplistic view, and I think that's kind of making it seem like women are not that bright.
Wait. I just want to level set again. The projects, the project example that I presented, you heard the part where I said that mindset, that point of view, it permeated into the population. It's people who never lived in the project that have project mentality. Okay? So it's not about taking government assistance anymore. It's the fact that your mothers taught you to be strong, to take care of yourself. You don't need no man. That has nothing to do with the projects anymore. A lot of women, I don't say most, a lot of women think, I don't need this man. I don't need this man. I don't need this man. Right?
But,
and
okay. Do you think it's because of men, not because of women's experience with not having men around?
Yes. Almost 100% yes.
So then is that the accountability alone on the woman, or is it again a shared accountability?
Okay. Now, men, once again, shared. You're trying to equalize this. You've heard me say this. Men and women aren't equal. We do the same thing for different reasons. See, here's the point. We're gonna pull it right back into what's wrong with black relationships. You already understood that you've been taught to be strong, independent, take care of yourself. You don't need no man. The government taught you that. But what the government didn't teach you or didn't have to remind you is sex is great. Sex is absolutely awesome. You want to have it, don't you? So you foolishly, as a woman, are telling men, I don't need no man. I can take care of myself, but I still want to get smashed. Who wouldn't take that deal? What man is going to turn down a deal like that? I don't have to feed her, clothe her, protect her, care for her, and I can smash? Okay.
Who's taking that?
Who's taking that? I mean, somebody text me right now, I'm taking it.
No, what I'm saying is what woman is saying, don't come, don't pay anything, and just let us have sex.
Well, to answer that question, no one is, right. Let's keep it honest here. No one's asking for this situation to happen, but the accountability does fall on the woman, because the reason why there even was a project or assistance, because women out here are getting pregnant by men that are not men, meaning that they're not mature adults to be able to be marriage, to be in relationship with women, right? So you go out here, you living your best life, you having sex, then you with a dude who works at McDonald's, no, he can't do nothing for you. So what you gonna do? Hey, he can't afford to be in your house. He only making $7.50, an hour or nothing. So yes, you gonna go and get the assistance and benefit because he's not doing nothing for you. Mm-hmm. But the accountability is gonna fall. Yes, the man and woman. The man needs to wear a condom every time, but also the woman needs to protect herself. She has more options than the man to present herself to get pregnant. But accountability is gonna fall on the woman. Listen, it falls on the woman. Is this that simple?
You backtracking.
No, I'm not. I'm just giving you a fact.
The accountability is on both, which is right. The accountability is on both, because a lot of these households that are single households are not all the time because the woman is to blame. Men have abandoned households. And left women to try to feed themselves and their kids that they were left behind. and and they went to the government for assistance, who exploited that. So I agree with all of that, but to put the blame squarely on the shoulders of Black women is improper, because their Black men also failed in that, which also brings me back to the conversation, which is, if Black men want all of these things from Black women, then it is the Black man's responsibility to be in the home, to raise their kids to be a certain way, so that they're not Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion.
Okay, question. See here, I hear what you're saying. See here's where we always break down in any conversation between men and women. Women always want to try to level set equal, and I've said it multiple times, and I'll keep saying it. There's no such thing as equality. The only equality you can have is equality under the law. Okay, women, when it comes to male-female dynamics, I don't care how you feel. It's unfairly yoked for women. When you get pregnant, I can go out today and I can sleep with 365 women, and I can get each one of them 365 pregnant, right? I don't have to bring none of them home with me. I don't have to none of that's my concern, is it? So you need to pick a man as a woman who is going to be there for you, because I can do this, you can't. You can't have 365 kids in a year. Unfortunately, my stupid butt could. All right? So when you try to say, oh, we're going to do this and it's equally, we're not. It's on you to find the best man you can find, and then work hard to keep yourself and that man together. Because I am stupid as a man, and God gave me a gift of procreation that is not the same as your gift of procreation. And with that comes bills and diapers and late night. All of that I don't actually have to worry about unless I choose to find a woman to love. And if that woman who I'm happen to lay with isn't capable of convincing me to love her, protect her, and take care of her, who is going to pay the price for that foolish decision? So this equality thing, like men and women both accountable, I keep saying it's women, because you're going to have to convince me to take care of you. You have to convince me to take care of my responsibilities. You got a baby. Unless you're going to leave it on the side of the road, it's your responsibility. And that's where women have fallen. Y'all keep thinking that it's equal. No, it's on you to do the best for yourself and that child. Now, the bad part is, in the 70s, you did what you thought was best for that child when you chose to get the government assistance. The best decision would have been to make the family work, because 50 years later, you don't understand what your grandmama was thinking living in the projects. You don't know what she had to live through, but you are having to deal with the fallout of her decisions, and your kids and your grandkids are dealing with the fallout of decisions made by people back in the 60s and 70s. See, that's why it's no equal. It's no what about men. I can knock the boots, get you pregnant, and go to Africa, and I never hear from you again. You still got a baby.
Let's just say this, Sherri. In my lifespan, right, I probably know between maybe 500 to maybe 1,500 men, right, that I know personally, right? And all those men I know who dealt with women, got them pregnant, married or not married, divorced, all that in between, I can only say only 3 out of the men who actually walked out the woman's life and did not try to do anything with the kids. Only 3 compared to all the other men I know. That's just me. Mm-hmm. But we men, we can echo the same story across the board.
Across the board.
So when you say men need to be accountable and men need to stop around the house, yes, we know it happens, but it's a small percentage. I know a lot of women who actually forced their men out the house, or the relationship just fell apart, right? Mm-hmm. But when we talk about when men just walk out and don't do nothing, I only know 3 men who do nothing. I mean, just like he went somewhere else and started a whole new family. I know 3 dudes. 3 dudes. I'm 39 years old. 3 dudes I know who did that.
My father did that.
So I never said that that was something that was a global thing. My only point of bringing that up was because we, in Seth's description, he skips over the fact that there are a lot of times where the reason that the women are in these situations are because the male that was part of that family structure, for whatever the reason, whether it was financial, whether it was mental health, whether it was drugs, whether it was infidelity, there's a reason that he was no longer part of that family structure, which left her to have to try to figure it out, which is more times the case than it's just that a woman decided that public assistance and housing would be better without the male. Like, that's just not a realistic thing, because women are not that silly. So I agree that the government has put in place some things that a lot of things and systematically to destroy the Black family. And so what my point even about this whole topic is, in the same way that we started to like understand, like you brought up the point, that which is a solid point, that when these things that you were agreeing to, you didn't realize how this would play out 50 and 60 years down the line. I agree with that. So now the people who have the awoken consciousness, right? And we understand that how media plays into this, how systematic racism played into this, how it's destroyed Black families, then why do we then get on public platforms and in public arenas and desecrate each other? That is my concern. Especially bothers me when it's males, Black men, doing it to Black women, right? When we say, when did we show up? When we have historically shown up in defense of Black men. Now, I'm not saying that there haven't been critiques over the years, and I think that, in my opinion, it has gotten a lot quieter. Like, that whole narrative of Black men are not around and blah, blah, blah. A lot of that has lessened in recent years. So it's kind of like, with that lessening has emerged now the opposite. The pendulum has shifted, and now there's all of this, hypercriticism of Black women by Black men. And even just to say that we are at fault for our own situations as far as living conditions or whatever, it's still like taking the male accountability away from that. Okay. Even that is saying, like, it's selling the story short, because it takes two to make a baby, right?
Facts.
In the same way that you have a child in this world, and there's how many men that you hear countless stories of their father didn't ever even come and check for them, right? That's not the fault of a Black woman. That's the Black man.
Whoa.
Hear what I'm saying.
I cannot let that stand. That particular sentence stand.
No, see, because you're going to take what I'm saying and make it seem like I'm saying that for every situation.
No, I think that, we're not going to move the goalpost here too much, because sometimes you say something is generic, and then sometimes you say something specific. But I'm not saying that's a generality. I'm saying that there are situations that we cannot say is not true, where there are men who have abandoned their kids altogether. So it's not, you can't always put and say that in a general statement that women made these decisions. That there are times where we can all say that someone or have heard some story where there has been, the male has just not held his end of the bar. He didn't put his responsibility. I never said that was a general thing. I'm saying that part right there is why I wanted to interrupt a second ago. That part, because my father did exactly what you just said. He abandoned the family, right? Until I had an adult conversation with my mother.
Say that again.
Recently, an adult freaking conversation. I spent my entire life thinking my daddy was a piece of crap, because my mother wanted me to think that. When I asked my mama what really happened with my daddy as an adult, and I called BS on her, she told me things that were ridiculous. Okay? My daddy didn't just leave. It was he left for justification. Hell, she tried to kill him. He left to save his life. That was fine. I can understand that with my mama being like that. Until I talked to my aunt, because since I've been doing this podcast, I try to get into real life true stories. Out of all the kids I grew up with that I can actually talk to, my aunt Ruth, my aunt Kim, my aunt Lisa, my aunt Carol, these ain't really aunts. These are my mama's friends who told us to call them aunts. And when I talk to them and I have real conversation, The number of men who left because they were just sick and tired of being there, that is a falsity running through the black community. A lot of our grandparents and our mamas have done things that would be unthinkable. Okay? That's why my father left. That's why my cousin father left. That's why my best friend dad left. So this narrative, I don't want to hear this. I will argue this based on my personal experience.
But you can't.
And
but you can't.
Around me.
Well,
but you can't.
I get my personal experience, but
right, it's your personal experience.
But what I'm saying is that I know stories. I know plenty of stories that had nothing to do with me, but I know exactly what Seth the Dark Child was saying. See, everybody, a lot of young boys grew up to hate their dad because he's not around, right? And he wasn't there for him. He didn't come visit them. But then when I had a sit down conversation with the dad as far as why he be there, and they tell him the truth, 7 out of 10 times the child now has a problem with the mother now. Because they've been brainwashed to believe that their dad ain't this. Because let's be real, this is a lot of parents, single mothers now who raising their kid without their father. Not all, let's be clear, some, and the baby dad's not there or whatever. They talk bad about the kid in front of them. So the kid believes their dad, oh, he don't love me no more. He won't do this. He won't do that. He won't do this. But we never. But the thing is that we never get to the truth of why mom and dad split up. And to be honestly, it's never the kid. It's actually not the kid's business why the parents not together. Because we all go through relationships and stuff happens. So I would never try to dictate my reasoning why my mom, my dad didn't get together. Because that's none of my business. Because when you find out about it, you're gonna be very upset at what happened. But that's a conversation that's not had. If mothers were really honest with their kids, it'd be a whole different story, a different narrative being pushed out there in the world.
Well, I think that so you're preaching to the choir, right? Because I told you guys last week, this is what I do every single day. So I know that there are stories where the women have made it very difficult, but you also cannot argue that because now what you described about if your mama tried to kill your daddy, that's a life and death situation. But because your mama was hard to deal with, and maybe she was a trifling chick, that's not a reason not to be in your kid's life. So that's not an excuse, okay. Right? And so those are things that we have to have hard conversations about because that's the truth.
No, because men and women are different.
No. It's a responsibility. It's a responsibility.
Wait. This is not. First off, I am not defending any man on this. I am not. I'm going to say a statement that is going to be controversial, but the truth, it needs to be said because men and women are different. Okay? If I no longer love your mama, if I no longer like you as a person, I honestly might not want to have nothing to do with nothing about you. And that unfortunately does include kids. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that when me and your mama went through what we went through and she destroyed and crushed my soul for whatever reason, he might disassociate from everything associated with you. It's not even about responsibility because I might pay child support, but I might literally not be able to stand the breath this woman takes. And every time I see you, because my ex-wife told me, your son, every time I look at him, he reminds me of you. I can't stop that. You know, I don't think she's mentally abusing him or nothing like that. But the point is, that's how she feels. And that's how some men feel. So women don't understand when you break up a relationship with that man, he might let go of everything associated with you in his attempt to heal from that breakup, which includes, sadly enough, the children. So it ain't just responsibility. Y'all, that's get thrown around a whole lot without realizing I don't want to take responsibility for something I hate. And I hate this woman. And unfortunately, those kids are attached to that woman. If you don't want him to hate them kids, give him custody of the kids. Let him take care of them kids, because you don't have to be the prime custodial parent. You can choose to give the father custody and then let him handle his responsibility in house. So those are choices you, as a mother and a wife and a whatever, has to make.
So tell me, when in this does a man have any accountability? I would like for you to tell, you too, as males, as men, not just males, but as men, that where in any of these scenarios does a man have a level of accountability? If it's not even for the showing up for his own children, where does the man have accountability?
Wait a minute. Who files for divorce 80% of the time?
Women.
That's one of those things. That's one of those things.
We're going. You asked, meaning that out of 100 men who get married, 80% of them, 20% of them file for divorce. They don't want to be there no more. The rest of them are actually trying to make it work. Now, we're not saying nothing's perfect. I'm saying women walk away from those relationships more than men. Even in a breakup, women break up 70+% of the time. Women decide to break up. That is not. When it comes to accountability, you keep saying accountability. You haven't given me one thing concrete to give accountability for. Am I accountable?
I
for
did.
The mortgage?
I said your children. Your children. If there's nothing more accountable in this world, it's your children that you bore into this world. And there's nothing short of a man being almost killed by a woman, short of him not showing up for his kids. There's no reason. There's no reason that you can foundationally give.
Woman, okay. And anecdotal evidence.
Her cheating, her being whatever. No, that still doesn't mean you don't show up for your kids.
Anecdotal evidence. This is my personal life. So, a friend had she saw a dude at a club, and she just wanted to have his baby. She did. She said this out loud. She wasn't my friend, my ex-wife's friend. She said, "Oh, he's fine. I'm having his baby." She said these things. And she proceeded to have a baby with him. They knocked the boost 3-4 times. She got pregnant. Is he responsible? Is he supposed to show up for a kid he didn't even plan on? She went and got that kid. Is he responsible for that? Is he supposed to fly in out of the blue and take care of that kid that he didn't even want and he begged her to have an abortion on? He didn't want to have a baby with her. He didn't know her. But now you're saying that he should be accountable for that kid because he didn't want it? Is that the question?
Yes.
Because that doesn't sound fair to me.
It's fair. Life isn't fair, right? Fair is also when a woman can say it's not fair that I got into a relationship with a person who decided not to show up for the family as a man. That's not fair. So now she's in a situation where she's living in substandard housing and stuff. That's not fair, but that's life. That's what happens. You have sex unprotected with a woman, and a baby is produced as a result of that. It may not be what you like, but that's what life is because of the consequence of your behavior, and you have a responsibility to address that. That is not a reason for you to abandon your family. And so when we look at these things, we have to give the males some accountability that there are situations that have caused the breakdown of Black relationships and Black marriages, especially, that are on some of the responsibility is on the woman and some of the responsibility is on the male. And I'm saying that is all very honest, but we can't just push it just like it's not fair to say, oh, Black men don't do this, Black men. It's the same way to say that it's not all Black female. And if we're going to have honest dialogue, we have to be able to accept accountability for things that maybe not you specifically, but your community of Black men have done, and the same thing for Black women. But we can't just say it's you and not me. We got to be honest about what this is.
All right, so
are there some women that are trifling? 100%. I do this every day.
Okay.
I know that.
Listen, okay, I get that. So let's say this, right? Because you want to know what man is accountable for, right? It's going to be both parties still accountable for their actions, right? Mm-hmm. The problem that we have is we have a lot of weak men and we have a lot of weak women. Both y'all on the same level, both weak. And the reason why I say they're weak because when you're in a relationship, marriage or not, when you have a kid, Michelle, she's somebody's watching the show right now, so she said it's common here, but she said the kid is never thought about. It always personal satisfaction, meaning that the mom or dad, whatever the situation may be, they don't know how to work through a situation to figure it out, and there's always one person who makes the ultimatum, what pushes one person out the house. So when it comes to accountability, it falls on the man and woman. But,
exactly.
But the most accountability still falls on the woman because it's the woman who chooses to have the baby, who chooses to lay down with these bum dudes. If we want to talk about accountability, stop laying down with these dudes and not doing nothing. Like, I'm raising a daughter, so when I'm raising my daughter, when she got us dating, I'm telling her, date with a purpose. Mm-hmm. Think about your future. Don't live in the moment, because when you live in the moment, you'll be stuck in there forever. Think about the future. So accountability falls back on education of our young kids at a young age. But what happened is when the mother and father are not in the house, whatever the case may be, dad leaves, mom leaves, dad come out, whatever it is. Whoever's raising the child is doing a horrible job because they're not raising the kid not to follow the same steps that they went through. They sit there and let the kid go through whatever. Regardless if the dad's not there, regardless if the dad is not making money and helping the child out, it's still the mom's responsibility to raise the daughter or the son not to follow in their footsteps. But that's not happening because the cycle keeps going. Accountability is going to fall on the parents, regardless if they're together or not.
And 80% of the black populate kids are raised in single parent households led by black women. See, first off, I want to level set for anyone listening. I want to fully acknowledge that there are a certain population of men who are a piece of craps. There are men who leave. There are women who leave. There are men who are abusive. There are men who do domestic violence. There are men who will grape a woman. I said grape, right? Yeah. Okay. I want to get
grape rope. I got you.
Okay. So then I'm not arguing for those. Okay, I get that. There's no angels. I will never say someone's 100% anything. There are no angels. There are no demons. There are people who make poor decisions. So, but when you say accountability, where's the accountability for men? I think I would like it if you would just acknowledge the fact that more men are on child. Most men actually with kids are on child support. Poorly as that sounds. And there are more. The percentage of fathers who pay child support is higher than the percentage of women who pay. Not the absolute numbers, but there are more deadbeat moms who ain't paying the single parent dad's child support
and delinquent
than vice versa. Okay, if when you look at the parenting portion of it, accountability, like say black men, even if they're not the non-custodial fathers, spend more time with their children than any other race of men. That ain't to say it's enough. It's just to say that black men try more to be better fathers, and that's because we did come from single parent mothers, and we understand the struggle that a woman goes through to raise a kid, and we are bound to help them. Honestly, full disclosure, my mother lives with me, not the other way around. My mother's an older, elderly woman. She lives in my house, which is a huge blow to my dating life. But she's my mom, and I'm doing what I got to do to take care of my mom. Okay? But minus that, when you say where's the accountability, once again, when I fully level set, and this isn't just one or two women. Every time I have a good conversation with a woman that has some problems with a man, y'all do some bad stuff just as much as we do, but y'all as in women have to keep y'all problems with you. I can walk away from my life and create a whole new life because I'm a dude. I don't have that baggage, and it's really up to women to stop gathering that baggage and then having to bear the brunt of carrying it. And I can't make you do that.
No, you can't make me do that, but what you are responsible for is you as a male to make sure that you are a whole person, that you are a whole man, and before you get in a relationship with a black woman.
True. Yes.
100% agree.
We agree. What about the woman?
Again, the same thing. I said this in the last time we were talking, that it's a responsibility for both people to be whole people. But what my question about is, the whole point of this is, the only way that you can truly get to any kind of healing is if both people are ready to take accountability, be honest, be able to look at themselves and say, you know what, these are the things that have led us to this point, and not point fingers and say it's just you or it's just them.
No, I disagree with your statement because you keep going back to equality. No, ma'am. It's up to one person to decide a better path and then find people willing to follow that path. That's called leadership. Now, no, you're confusing what I'm saying. No, I understand what you're saying. But you're saying that we need to do better and black men should be better. No, one person, black men. If black women want black men to be better, somebody has to choose to be the better person first. If you change how you act your outlook, your output, and what you will accept as a standard, then you will force, and that's what it's going to take, force black men to be better. I can get what I want from a woman. If all I want is sex, I can just have sex. I don't even have to take women out anymore. We can meet for a coffee date and have sex. If you want to build a family, you're going to have to change that dynamic, because as long as I can do it at a coffee date, why would I not? Why would I make it harder for myself to be with somebody when it's this easy? This is a choice you got to make, because you choose who you sleep with and build a family with.
So that what you're saying, not you woman, you woman and man make that decision to who you're going to sleep with, woman and man.
I sleep with whoever lets me. I'm a man. I am literally a single black male who makes a nice amount of money. If I find somebody, I can't go on Tinder and sleep with somebody every night, but I have a best friend who ran through 17 women in 12 months just because it was available. Okay? Now, I don't think he was right. I think it was nasty personally. But the point being is his ability to do that. What value do you think he is going to put on women if he could do that? He has no incentive to be better. If he could do that, what incentive does he have to be a better man?
I understand that. But again, we're talking about reality.
Said but.
No, the but.
The only reason is because okay, you're right, because it's and. I agree with that part of what you're saying, and that still is exactly my point around. You just generalize that this is the experience of most relationships, and that simply is not true. So there is no accountability that a man should also be more purposeful and intentional with who he lays with, because if you don't want the drama with these trifling women, then you also have a responsibility to be better about who you lay with. Just because you have a penis doesn't give you a pass to sleep with whoever you want. That's a cop-out, and that's corny. What we are talking about is black people being better, right? Black relationships being better. So if black relationships are going to be better, both black men and black women have to make a decision to be better. And what I keep asking you, gentlemen, is about why are we not having the conversation about, we can always talk about black women and black women and black women.
Here's why. Here's why. The reason why it's going to be harder for all of us black men to keep our black men accountable for their actions, because the women who have access to the body don't have a high standard for the man who they sleep with. So I can tell 100 men, you need this, and this, right? But then one guy here says one girl, because he said hi to her and he can hit it. Okay, well, I got to work as hard what he's saying. I'm over here doing what I want to do. You understand what he's saying?
And I'm going to copy that.
And so pretty much what Seth the DaChop was saying that, as a matter of fact, I was in a clubhouse last night and this guy name is TJ. He said if all women came together and they had a correlation or something saying that, hey ladies, the only time we let a man be intimate with us, he must wear a pirate suit. And every man in the world and everybody in the chat room agree, yes, I'll be Jack Sparrow, if that's what it's going to take me to get to the draws, right? Per se. So what the point we're trying to make is that if women keep the men more accountable, then you'll have better results. It's just that simple. I mean, I can sit here and tell 100 men what he should do and should not do, but if the woman over here, if no one's keeping the women accountable for their actions, guess what?
But I never said that there was no accountability for the woman. What I said that Steph kept doing was passing over the fact that you don't get to be a douchebag because somebody else didn't hold you accountable for not being a douchebag. You know right from wrong. You know.
You do get to be a douchebag if no one's holding you accountable. Listen. Donald Trump, I'm gonna just use his name, is a
okay. So then, if that's the logic, then women get to be anything that they want to be because black men and not just black men, period, will sleep with anything.
And that's
so. Why would a woman have to have a higher standard? It goes in circular. What you're arguing is a circular argument. It doesn't make any sense.
And it's just not circular. It's circular down the drain. We're both agreeing to the same thing. We're arguing
Right,
we're arguing that who has to fix it. That's the
no,
argument we're having.
no. What I'm arguing, my only argument is, why is it one-sided? And
I just said it. It's not one-sided.
But it is who has to fix it. It is one-sided. Here's the thing. If once again I can keep saying it, Kevin Samuels did a great show a couple months ago about the feminist movement, the feminism movement. In it, the lady who worked for Cosmos said specifically that the moment women, they incorporated abortion and birth control into the feminist equal rights movement, it was going to turn women into sex objects. Okay? Because in the past, women did have to be circumspect about who they had intimate contact with, because a child was always a probability. The moment you could have an abortion or use multiple forms of birth control and that was no longer a fear, that the downward spiral of relationships started. In the black community specifically, and I just want to add this, you had government, I would say power, force, movement, whatever, focus on destroying the black community. So that's why it's so much worse for black people, because the government, on top of using feminism to destroy the black community. But you don't get to have it both ways. If it's easy, men, if you go back to ancient Troy, they destroyed a city for Helen of Troy. They invaded a kingdom for her, right? Fathers used to have murder people for messing with their daughters, right? If you needed your daughter to stay a virgin till she got married, and we would go to war to make sure that happened. Now, women throw away their virginities like it's a joke. I mean, honestly, you can do this and there's no consequence for it. But if there's no consequence for your actions, if there's no cost for your actions, why I don't have to pay it? If you are giving it away free, why wouldn't I take it? You have to set a better standard, and it's not you as one person. If women want men to be better than the douchebags that some of us are, women are going to have to create a situation where men can't be that douchebag and get the same benefits. You can't have it both ways. Make us pay more for it. That's the only
I agree with that. I agree with that. I am saying that I never disagree with that point. I only keep going back to that. You guys keep skipping somehow. Is the fact that there is a responsibility on both parts. And we're talking, because the whole point about today is talking about the state of black relationship, right? And if we're going to have a better relationship, it's not on just one part of a two-part thing. It's both parties have to make a decision to be better.
I agree.
And that's the part that I don't understand why I don't know if that's not coming across.
Okay, sure. All right. Since we're not answering the question properly, I want you to tell us what men should do. How should we keep other men accountable from a woman's point of view? Because I mean, that's the best way to get it. How do you want us to keep us accountable?
I'd say individual accountability. I wasn't even talking about you guys keeping each other accountable as a community, because that's a whole nother issue, right?
Doesn't matter. Give us something.
Okay, individual accountability. So if what the circumstances that we talked about, we gave some kind of specific examples of situations that men have found themselves in with women, even if it's the woman that they didn't barely know that's having the baby, but then they're not showing up. That's individual accountability, that they still have a responsibility to show up for their children. They still have a responsibility for that, because in the same way that if a woman has talked negatively about a man in front of their kids and has made and shaped that child's mind, is the same way the absence of the father shapes the child's mind, right? Regardless of whatever the situation is with the other person. Because as I often say to the families that I come in contact with, do you hate the other person more than you love your child? Right? Because that's the way you start to change the trajectory of black families, because it starts with the black children. It starts with the black kids. So if regardless if the relationship works out or not, you can't say it's the mama's fault for choosing a bum. No, the reality is the conversation should have had started from when if the father was around to teach his daughter, like you said, Dwayne, you're going to teach your daughter what to look out for, what to recognize, what to accept. Those are the things that we have to take accountability for. That there was some absence, some breakdown, that maybe a male was not present to teach that young girl of what to look for, what not to look for, and that if that happened, then maybe she would not have ended up with this person, and she would have judged wiser. Right? That's full accountability, and we have to be able to say those. I'm not saying that the woman is void of any responsibility, because she is. Once you become an adult, you know right from wrong. But just like people make mistakes, we have to be able to have those conversations. And I don't think that it's going to be a healthy dialogue if we are not able individually to say that, you know what, there are situations where men have not done the best or right by the black family, in the same way that women may not have made the best decisions for black families. And we can have a conversation around that, but you cannot squarely put the responsibility on one shoulder or the other. And that is my only point. That is my only point. And the bigger point to this is we have to also stop desecrating each other. So it's not healthy to push a message that black women are argumentative, or loud, or confrontational, or these things, or all these negative traits, because that is not representative of most black women. And because that also undermines, because now what are you as a black man, here's the accountability, what are you as an older black man, not an old black man, but older, teaching the younger ones that are listening or looking up to you about black women? You have desecrated black women in their eyes, that you've already diminished their value and their worth, because you're speaking on a public platform, or you're speaking in a barbershop where there are young boys that are listening, or in the park or whatever, that black women are this way. So you are teaching them, even if it's indirectly, you are teaching them that we are not of value and not of substance. And that is where we get into the problem. So now, is that young black guy, now when he gets in a relationship and meets a woman, is he going to treat that black woman with respect? Because what he's heard from the men around is that they're loud, they're combative, that they're this, that they're that. And so that's why, as you heard 50 and Lil Wayne in their interview, are going to say that other races are more desirable for that reason, right? Which further desecrates us and devalues us, and we keep repeating this negative cycle. So I'm just saying that doesn't help us as a people, because that's not even representative of most of black women. That's not even representative of most black women, and it's kind of insulting, really. The same way that it's insulting when to hear that black men are not there for their kids and stuff like that. That insults you guys as black men, as black men who are not like that, to hear. It's the same thing. And I'm just asking, where are the black men going to show up and say, or start a group that's anti that message instead of promoting it? That's anti.
All right.
And that's what I haven't seen.
Okay. So to add on to that, we have Michelle's also listening and watching on YouTube as well. Mm-hmm. And I asked her the same question, and she said, see us, accept us, respect us. Don't make us feel like we have to join a circus to be with you, because you also bring something to the table. We both bring value to one another, and we want to see you win. So that's also, those are things that Michelle said to the same question you asked. And make sure I understand what you said. What men should do is educate our young boys, right? And then respect, right? That's the two things I want to make sure I pulled out of everything that you said. That what men should do to be accountable. Respect and be accountable, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, Sherri.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
So just those two things, that's it.
No, of course, you want me to go through a comprehensive list, but I do think that of the very foundation of it is education. In the same way that you said, women have to be taught of, not to get involved or engage with certain types of guys or whatever, to have certain standards. We have to also teach the boys that as well. And we have to be more mindful of how we represent each other, because that matters, right? So when we spoke about the communication, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole with you two gentlemen, but it matters. You know, we were talking about the delivery. All of these things matter because you guys have children, right? And you know that children watch and hear everything. Seth referenced earlier that he didn't appreciate his ex-wife listening to WAP in the car with his son because of what that message that sends. It's the same thing. Kids watch and hear and pick up on everything. So the way that you interact with women, the way that you talk about them, the way everything, a kid is watching. A kid is watching. And so even if you never told a guy that black women aren't this, but they've heard it or they've seen how you treated them or people in their surroundings, those messages that they're taking in all the time. And that's just as impactful as if you would sit there and teach them in school that, you know? And so to have groups where you're saying that, you know, this type of behavior is women are whores, and this type of women, this is not womanhood, or this is not womanly, and you know, these are messages that are potentially devastating.
Let me read this first. Okay. And also to add to what you're saying as well, because like I said, we have people on YouTube watching. Lady Michelle, she said, other races are taught to go after black men of value and stop nothing to get them. Black women are taught that black women are not taught that we are taught to love you for who you are, where you are, and help you build with you.
Wait, say that again. That she said that black women are taught to build.
Not taught.
Black women are not taught to
build with black men and go after black men.
Okay.
Other races are.
Other races are taught
they're not,
go after.
They're not taught to go after black men. They're taught to go after men that will have resources and develop resources. That's pretty much. See, okay. You said a lot of stuff. Once again, I'm gonna have to start breaking you up because you really do. You really do jump about 5, 6, 7 different locations when you get going. Everything you said needed to be unpacked, but I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Just back to level set, the state of black relationships. It's right here. This conversation that we're having, right? Now, bear in mind, this is going to be just me and you as a personal thing, and you know, is that during this entire conversation, I don't feel like. And I say feel.
Right.
I don't feel like I've made any headway with changing your mind or even getting on the same sheet of paper. You are where you're at. You believe what you believe, and you are willing to defend it strongly, right? That's fine. Here's the problem.
I didn't know that you disagreed with. I didn't know you disagreed with me.
No. I agree with a lot that you're saying, but our points of view are different, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's a given. Our points of view are different. And you are a strong black woman. You are who you are. You're confident in yourself, right? So you're willing to defend your position, right?
Right.
That's a given. Well,
I would just put a point to that. I would say that in this conversation, and since you brought that up, that's actually a very good point. That in this conversation, I have agreed with you and Dwayne a lot of points that you guys have made. You guys have kind of agreed with something that I said, and I think that that's an important thing to highlight because you know, when we're talking honestly, and I'm not saying that you have to see it my way because again, this is from we're all talking about individual perspectives, but when we also are trying to get to a mutual ground, I would say that I have been more agreeable than you have.
True, and that, and once again. I like the fact that you said that you've been more agreeable than I have. Here's the problem with that statement, though. It's not about equality. I didn't say equality. No. But you've been more agreeable because you're level setting, trying to say that I've come closer to where you were at than you came to me. That's trying to meet me in the middle. That's part of what the problem is. Even the best you can get a black woman to do, in some people's opinion, is to try to barely meet in the middle. And that's fine for interaction amongst friends and stuff like that. That's fine for work comrades and whatever. But when you're in an intimate relationship, this conversation in an intimate setting is hard. It's difficult. And I don't know if I would want to have someone at home with me that I have to put in this amount of work to get you to understand my point of view. It's not to say that you're not a good person. It's just that no, but honestly, that's where we're at, because Michelle put up a comment recently in the comment section that I agreed with, that we're too strong. That was part of what she said. We're too strong. It's nothing of and this is what's taught systematically. See, we've had this whole conversation, but on the backside of it was how strong are you going to be in this conversation, because it's always that submissive portion. Now, anyone listening to this conversation that we've had, anybody listening to it would think that you will never submit. And even if I don't say the word submission, I'm logging that information, right? And so you come to that position where she's smart, she's fine, she's intelligent, I like her. But can I do this for the rest of my life? And that is where you get to the other breakdown. It's a lot of things wrong with black relationships. But at the end of the day, how is it supposed to be this hard? You know, I thought you'd have gave up a long time ago, honestly, and be like, yo, all right, you win. What you want for dinner? Some junk like that. But no, we're still doing it. That's this too, even though we didn't talk about the whole conversation, this is part of what's wrong with black relationships also. You guys are very strong in your opinions, and y'all don't budge lightly. And that gets hard over years, months and years.
Well, you know, I find that to be unfortunate, because I think the beauty of what we're having in this discourse is we're having a conversation, right? And we haven't cursed each other out. We haven't gotten upset with each other. We're having a conversation that we're not the same. You're a man and I'm a woman, and we've had different life experiences and different perspectives. And because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I'm an idiot, right? It doesn't mean that I don't have an opinion or a point of view. And so because you you have your point of view doesn't mean that I have to see it your way to make me whatever. Right? I
like it. I love talking to you. I'm excited about this. I look forward to this. This is who I am. So you and I are on the same wavelength. But I'm not sure if you're going to run into a whole bunch of men willing to articulate a conversation this long, this hard, this detailed on a regular basis.
But I have. What I can say is that my experience has been, and I'm very thankful for that, is that the men that I have dated, the men that I have been in a relationship with, even just my friends, the guys that I'm friends with, I always come across people like I met twins strictly through social media, right? And that's just how it ends up working, because that's who I am. So I'm always gravitate towards people who are forward thinking, people who have, even if I don't agree. And him and I have not agreed about a lot of different topics, but I always value and respect the fact of I understand what he is, and his mission is the same mission. We just have differing views of how to get there, but we have the same mission. And so at the end of the day, I always respect him and you as well, because the mission is the same. Mm-hmm. So we can always have those differing opinions. Why these conversations are important, even if it takes us 20 hours to get to a mutual ground, is because it's saving our black family. So if it takes 10 years, that's a sacrifice that we have to be willing to make, that we can't give up because it's hard. And I think what we don't have enough of is the spaces like this where we can have these conversations that are hard, where we don't agree, that it can start to at least put what do you call it? Like, it plants the seed to say, okay, you know what? I thought about what they said, maybe not right now, but then I get that. And I'll give this experience. We talk about anecdotal experiences. So when I first moved into my apartment, I had a housewarming party. I had a vision board party for my housewarming. And I invited like an equal amount of men and women. And I had, like series of questions that I was going to ask while we were doing vision boards or whatever. And one thing that was very funny that stood out was the difference between the vision boards that the men created and the vision boards that the women created, right? Very different, very different, which also sparked a very good conversation. And my best friend, who's a guy, we started talking about relationships and stuff like that. And he was telling, a lot of the people were there, my cousins or my coworkers. He's like, I'm telling you, as a black man, I'm trying to give you guys this information. You guys are trying to tell me from black women or about a black man. And I'm a black man telling you this is what it is. And where better to get this information than from a black man? And, it was a perfect point, because even though they were like, some of the stuff he was saying was very controversial and they didn't like it, it made them pause, because what he had and what he got them to see was, that's what you're saying is from a perspective of what black women think, but black men may not see it that same way. And I'm here and standing in this space as a black man telling you this, which is like free game, right? Because how often do you get to do that? Because most times, like you said at the beginning, where we're having these dialogues and stuff is, like you said, in an echo chamber with other women. I think it's important for this.
How long ago did you have that conversation? How long did that happen? I'm just wondering.
I've been in my apartment 5 years.
5 years. Okay, just back to the time frame you provided earlier. Okay.
So what I say all that to say is that, the conversation ended up being very dope. It was a very dope conversation. It lasted very long, as long as, like a party would. And it was like, they all still to this day ask me to do it again, because it was a good space where you have people who were, they were from different age groups, people who were different walks of life. I had some friends that are, lawyers. I have some friends that are doctors. I have, a guy who's a musician or a personal trainer, and same thing. It was a variation, but it was a great conversation because, like I said, it wasn't blaming, it wasn't shaming. We had a lot of definitely good conversation. So I think that it shouldn't be taken as a negative because, we've been talking for an hour and 30 minutes. I think that it's a good thing because we get to see from each other's point of view. It doesn't mean that I have to agree. And to be very honest, I agree with a lot of the things that you say. I just push on you, and the same thing for twins is to also hold up the male accountability part of it. And we started this, and when I gave my little breakdown of why this topic came to my mind, was because I have been seeing an influx or an increase of conversations around the problems or whatever, highlight of what the issues are with black women. And I just wanted us to discuss that because I felt like I can't ask a black woman why black men are talking so bad about us. I need to ask the black men. And you guys are black men. And so that's why I brought it here, because my homegirls are going to probably have all kind of viewpoints that are wrong, right? So we want to hear it from you gentlemen. So don't take it as a negative because we've been talking about this thing for so long. It's necessary and it's needed. And even if I don't agree with you, doesn't mean that I haven't heard you and respected what you say.
Okay, cool. Appreciate that. I also want to read a comment that Michelle Reed clarified that she wrote. She said, "We are taught to love all black men, not just the superstars. Other races are taught only to go after the superstar black man." So that was kind of just re-clarify her last statement that she said before.
Which is a big clarification because I agree with her 1,000,000%.
We should
agree with her 1,000,000%.
We should probably talk about that on a different thread.
Yeah. I know,
but I like that because that is a very good point. That is a very good point that should be discussed because other groups are taught about the resource part of it, like where you keep highlighting Dark Child is around women who they're choosing to lay with, right? Because it's true, women are not taught in the same way that other groups are taught about, look who the person is, what does he do, where does he live, where does he work, how much money does he have? You know, like, we are not taught that. We are taught to love a black man for who he is and not what he has or what he could have. So that is true.
Well, yeah.
I
want to. Yeah, we should do that on a separate thread, because it's even the hip hop code. The problem with
that's a whole nother topic.
Well, I'm just saying the problem. One of my problems that I see with black relationships, even though it's outside of the scope of where we were at, is the pervasive hip hop culture in Black America. Right, so we are taught to look towards the glamour, the money, and the problem is that and once again, we don't control our media. That
Facts.
Focus on that particular lifestyle, dudes who are like us, who are in the IT fields, engineering fields, we are the lames in the black community. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Oh yeah, I'm proud of my fact that back in college I was on the dean's list, right? But sisters could care less about that, and that's a problem. Not all sisters, but the point being is that you're right. Becky was like, "Yo, this guy was on the dean's list. Possibility he'll somewhere around middle age. He might be making mid six figures. It didn't happen, but whatever."
Continue.
But
But they're looking at that. You're right. You're right.
And sister, and once again, we should do this a whole different. I don't want to go too far into it, but honestly, the fact that the D-boys, the fact that most of us know more rappers than CEOs off the top of our head, see, that's a problem. Because I almost guarantee you find an Asian woman, she's not trying to date the star of the movie or something. She's trying to date the executive producers, the directors. She's trying to date the head writer, and he's a nerd. But this head writer is making over six figures, maybe seven, and there's a lot more of those guys than the guys in front of the camera. We need to refocus on where we look for our relationships at, more so than just what's the problem. Who are you looking for to be in a relationship with? We need to talk about that.
And but also, even add to that is that with the social media, music, rappers, all that stuff like that, they're the ones who influence the young men and young women to run out there and be sexual with each other. Because let's be honest, when you see the Busted Challenge, when you do WAP and all that stuff,
the Cucumber Challenge,
all that stuff you see women doing on TikTok, you see it like, dang, what you gonna do? Slide in the DM. When you slide in the DM, what's gonna happen? We have conversations, then we have sex. Possibly having sex there, what could happen? A kid.
And it's easy. It's so easy.
But yes, but that should be another topic. But it does play a role in this overall.
100% agree. Social media has contributed a lot to just relationship breakdown. Period. Like everything is accessible right at your fingertips, and you're comparing what you're seeing every day with stuff that you're seeing on social media, which is people's highlight reels, right? So, or what's fake, because that's a large part of it as well. So if I even start to now, look at a person I want to be so serious with, but that person has a certain standard, right? So when you were talking about standards earlier, and I know that I can put in less work and go over here, then why am I going to put that work in unless I am a person of value myself and say that, you know what, I don't really want that. And that's my point around, like, yes, should women band together 1,000% and say we're not taking this? But that's not reality. When we talk about realistic things, that's just not a realistic thing that's going to happen. Because even if the oldest profession is, prostitution, right? There's always going to be that woman that requires a little less work or whatever. That's just the way of the world. But who we accept.
Can I speak on that for a second?
Yeah.
You know what the thing is, and I think, and we should talk about that too. But with that paying for companionship, see, that's fine. When men actually don't want to wife up those women. You know, if she can do monkey double backflips, that's awesome. I want to experience that, and I'm willing to pay for it outside of my marriage. Not that I am, but you know what I'm saying. But I literally don't want my wife to be able to do monkey double backflips. Why?
Wait.
Huh?
Sorry, child. You talked about the power of social media.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, because we're talking about the influence, right? And you said this, Twins, and I agree with you. Think about who at the forefront these big time guys get, right? Who's considered men of what is your guys' favorite word? Men of high value, high value men, right? Look at the women that they're getting. Are these women that they're getting lawyers, doctors, engineers, nurses, teachers, social workers? No.
They don't want them.
Right?
Wait.
No, hear me. Let me just hear me out, right?
Okay.
And so when we're looking at what women are going to emulate, right? Because what we should be basing these things off of, like you said, is more of what's really of value, not a person's look, not how easy it is to get them. And then because you're saying that they don't want to wife them, but that's what we're seeing in social media world is the opposite, right? Because you're seeing Lori Harvey's being celebrated or Kim Kardashians are being celebrated, and men wife them up one after the other.
Wait.
So it sends the wrong message. Women are not getting that message that men don't want to wife those type of women.
Okay, you just hit the nail on the head, and I'm gonna tell you why. Twins and I discussed this a few weeks back. I listen to Kevin Samuels because hearing how a lot of his female callers think is important. It's a negative for me because I know that even if I could provide it, I don't want to give it to those particular people. But here's the trick. His clients, top 5% of men and all that. See, that's not me and Twins. That's not us. We're not there. Okay, I'm not if I could drive a Ferrari, the kind of girl who is going to get in my Ferrari is not going to be a social worker or a teacher. Let's be 1,000. But I don't make Ferrari money, and I'm not looking for that. So if women are looking at Michael B. Jordan as a standard, well, I can't work with that. I can't do anything with that. Okay? And that's the problem. So once again, but that's because they put it on television doesn't mean you need to chase it. I have never wanted to do the Dukes of Hazzard jump a car over a ravine because it was on television. I realized that was an image on TV. But
right.
if you are internalizing that message off television, I can't fix that for you. And it's becoming increasingly difficult to work with people who are internalizing that. This conversation we're having, once again, every time we have a conversation, this is specific about this topic. This topic doesn't define me as a man, but this is my ideas on this specific topic. It's not who I am. But when you walk out the door looking for Michael B. Jordan, and you know Michael B. Jordan only wants this kind of woman, and so you're striving to be that kind of woman for him in that situation, you take everybody else off the table because that one time when you get Michael B. Jordan, it messes you up for all the men behind him because I can't do Lori Harvey for right now. If they don't get married, she for the streets. Let's be real. If she don't,
but she been for the streets,
and she gonna and if he does wife her up, nobody's gonna respect that relationship, and I wouldn't even expect it to last 5 years. But hey, but wait.
But people do. So the problem is that on social media, you're looking at these men that are quote unquote high value, which I disagree with that as being high value. Just because you could be a high earner doesn't mean that you're a high value.
Yeah,
but
that's a distinction.
And so, but these quote unquote high value men, and you've seen the type of women that they are going after, and then you hear black men saying things like what 50 Cent and Lil Wayne and other people have jokingly said, like, what type of woman that they want. So women alter themselves to become more superficial and more whatever, or more more I don't want to say sexual, because it may not be sexual. I don't know that to say that, but they appear to be more like, they become more sexually appealing, because that's what it seems that's what the high value man wants, right? So when you say that men don't want a wife, that's not the messaging that is being sent to, not just to young women, but to young men as well. So those other people that are left out, it's also the other women who are busting their tail every day going to work, the women who are regular women, the ones who may not be interested in putting a pound of makeup on their face and spending hundreds of dollars on wigs and stuff like that, may not be, those are the ones that men are looking past. So it's a very circular thing. It's a cycle, but it can't say that what they don't wife them, because we have seen time and time again where they are passing around the same woman, and it's Lori Harvey's just the one that they celebrate the most. And even talking to some of my guy friends, they're like, "Nah, for sure, she's tough, like she bad." But it's like, but what is she bringing to the table? Like, what do these women do? I watch a lot of the stuff on social media, and they post these relationships, and they're like,
when you talk to the fellas and they say, "Oh yeah, she bad," right? And they say that to you. They say she's bad. They didn't say they're gonna marry her, did they?
She just.
But they have married them, right? And I'm not saying that most men. I'm saying, I'm not talking about like most men, because most men are not those high earners, right? So I'm saying that you seeing these guys marry women who you got to say, like, who are they? Like, what do they do? Like, what are they other than just a nice arm candy? And that in itself is problematic, because yes, so a woman who wants that type of man must fit that type of category, even if she is a high value woman herself. But because she's not wants to be arm candy, or wants to look that way, or maybe she just doesn't look that way, they're going to look past her. So then you can't then say, oh, it's the woman's fault for being that way. It's what's being perpetuated. And I agree, social media is the driving force behind those images. But how do you change that? And this goes back to my first point that you may not agree with. If the men, imagine if those high earning men, those high notoriety men started getting with women who were like regular, for quote unquote, because they're not regular, but regular women, for lack of a better word, like how Ludacris got with his wife, who I believe she's a nurse or something. Like she has an actual profession. Like, imagine the narrative, how that would shift the narrative, how that would shift the culture if those men, instead of going strictly by physical standards, actually looked for value and started to create families that were based around value like other cultures do. We would be light years ahead if we based it on that and not on getting Lori Harvey because she's bad. Like,
I just want I agree with what you said. Problem is, we don't control our media, and I'm always going to say that, because we need to wrap it up soon. But the problem is this: the images that are being fed to us of Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey, or Russell Wilson and Sierra, right? Those are images fed to us. We see that, and it's shoveled down our throat. When the last time you seen a documentary on Denzel Washington's wife?
Never.
Ever. All right.
I have.
Samuel Jackson.
On
his wife.
I don't know if you guys watched the series of Black Love. There's actually a Black Love series.
Well, I haven't watched it.
No, we get that. No.
Yeah.
Listen, they out there. I agree with you. They're out there. They're not being forced.
They're not being.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's there, but
right.
It's not being forced.
Okay.
It's accessible, right? It's easy to pull up Cardi B and Michael B. Jordan. Like, everybody know about it. It's on front page news, but you don't hear about that. Go ahead.
LL Cool J's wife. He's been married to her for 20-something years, 30 years, 50. Married. Sam Jackson's wife, married. If it wasn't for Barack being president, you wouldn't know that him and Michelle kick it like they do. And I'm straight with that. That's great. That's the point. It's not so much. We can have a whole nother discussion, I think we will, about social media and the images being portrayed. But once again, as I just stated, I look at television. I have never put a cape on around my neck and jumped off a building thinking I was going to go save the city.
Facts.
I knew it was television. even on these conversations, I'm quoting Kevin Samuels. We're talking about Kevin Samuels. I am in no way saying that I even qualify for what he's talking about, but some of the information he's providing is valid. So I can't speak for the people who internalize these images and try to live their life based on that information. But
right.
The people that
do you agree that it's the real thing? Right, you're going to say, do you agree that it does have a heavy influence?
Oh, 100. It's propaganda.
Right.
It's
right.
It's propaganda.
Right. And that's my other point. If we had more images where their focus of, like, if we, instead of hearing, and I keep going back to these two ignorant with the conversation with 50 Cent and then Lil Wayne statements. Those, instead of hearing that, you heard these men who are very high profile, who are seen a lot in social media, not just rappers or not just athletes, but whoever it is, our actors, whoever, talk about the value of a woman instead of the physicality of a woman, and how it's important to match yourself or be linked with women of value and not of physical beauty standards. That imagine the influence. Imagine the influence.
I agree with what you're saying. Who's controlling that narrative is not us.
We are. We are. 50 Cent wasn't being controlled by a company. He said what he said.
Hold on, stop right there. Education, right? Michelle just posted, educated women and not arm candy. As far as what men should be doing. But listen to this, though. The fact that you brought 50 Cent and Lil Wayne, first off, I would never listen to either one of them about relationships, because I know both of them got baby mamas. So right there, I don't care what they say. I'm gonna dismiss whatever they say before. If it ain't got nothing to do with a rap album dropping or maybe a TV show coming out, I don't want to hear nothing. They say something about relationship, but the problem is that comes down to education.
But how many men reposted it? How many men was co-signing the stuff that they were saying?
I like you said that. How many men reposted that? Yeah, those weren't men; those were boys. If you want to know,
right? Well, okay.
So right there, you should know as a woman. Oh yeah, he's not a boyfriend material. He's not husband material. If he's following Lil Wayne and 50 Cent, you shouldn't be giving that man no time of day in your life.
I agree. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that it's an influence, though. I'm saying the influence. Think about that.
You only allow to influence you. You
already know. You've heard my stance on that.
No, I get that. But what I'm saying is this. Seth said this earlier. I love Marvel, right? But I'm not gonna put a cape and jump off a bridge. I'm gonna die. Let's be real with it.
But you are an older guy. You're not.
Okay.
You're not.
How many young teenagers have you heard jump off bridge with capes on? Forget me. How many young teenagers between 16 to 25?
You're a 19-year-old knows not to jump off a doggone bridge.
Okay, so what are you saying?
But a 19-year-old is very impressionable when you're talking about relationships, right? Because like we were talking about to start this whole thing with my nephew, right? He's going out, he's saving his money because he wants a car, right? And like Jay-Z said, the power of the PUSSY is the reason why every dude in the hood dress fly.
Jay-Z.
Like, so at the end... No, is that not a fact?
No, it's a fact. We agree.
Darktown told me that last week. He said that,
I'm glad you said that. But beginning of the show, part 1, y'all, go back and listen to that. You said that he. I don't know exactly the words you say though, but you thought that was some bullcrap that he did that. You just
right.
You just as a woman, you just ordered that young man putting his money to the side and having to go going for something because he could at least spend $2 on that.
Exactly, because he could have spent $2 to get us something. So I still stand by that. But what I'm saying is that.
But that's the whole problem we talking about right there. You just dismiss a man that you're missing it. That's it. That's the whole thing of the black. That's the whole topic.
What I'm bringing up about the car is that so a 19-year-old, right? He's looking at what is fly. He's looking at things that he's into, right? And so my nephew's into car. He likes cars. So that's his thing that he's looking at. So if whatever, like I was watching another show, and they were asking the guy what kind of car, what's his dream car? He said a DeLorean. And the girl said, "What is a DeLorean?" And he said, we never seen Back to the Future, whatever. So he, in his mind, as a man, this is the things that he has that he wanted for himself, or whatever he has seen on from whether it's TV or however it did, it impressed in his mind. The influence of it impressed in his mind, right? And so to say that no, he's not going to put a cape on and jump across a bridge, but if a man, another man that he thinks has a lot of money or has something that he likes, drives a nice car or whatever, is saying out of his mouth that these type of women are of no value, that's a very dangerous thing, and we should not allow it. And it goes back to the very point of the beginning of this whole thing about where is the love, and how I feel that, you know, where was the accountability of men like yourself, men like DaChop, that would say out verbally that, you know what, we don't support that nonsense. We're not going to tolerate that, because you're not going to dismiss, devalue, or desecrate black women in that way. They are black women of value, regardless of their skin tone, regardless of if they grew up in the hood or not, that they are still women of value and deserve respect. But that didn't happen. And that is when you have women coming behind it saying, protect black women, that black women feel that they are the most disrespected people on this planet. Because in these circumstances, right, where you have these people who are very high profile saying these things out loud, we hear a silence, a deafening silence from our black men. Yes, you may not agree with it. You said, both of you guys said you didn't agree with this statement.
Where can we speak on this?
Okay.
The same way right now, where you're speaking on it, right here. You have a platform. You have a platform, Twin.
Right.
You have a platform,
I speak
Dark.
on
You have a platform.
But the point I'm trying to make is this: where other black men can speak on this, because we
that's
have
in the barbershop.
No.
In the barbershop.
Breathe. The point I'm trying to make is this: we don't have the media, and we have women tell men who they need to be and what they should be doing forever. And no one has kept them accountable. Hell, we got songs about what men need to be doing and who we are, right? Mm-hmm. So I understand what you're saying. That's why we have this conversation now. We have this conversation on Clubhouse. But when you say, the point I'm trying to make is this.
You've heard black women say that a black man who's a dark-skinned black man is of less value? Have you heard black women say that? Because what I have heard is quite the opposite.
What man said that? Hold on. What man said that?
That's what Lil Wayne said.
Hold on. See, that's a problem. Why are you guys
about
Lil Wayne?
About dark-skinned women?
Hold on, you said Lil Wayne?
No, why I'm bringing up Lil Wayne, because what I'm trying to get you guys, I'm pinpointing a very strong point right here, is that if you have men that have said something in a very public way, and you're saying, where can we speak against it? When you're having those same conversations that men do, the men talk, then you're saying to other men, like, we don't jack that. I'm not saying cancel culture and all of that. What I'm saying is more about, like, we are not going to tolerate that type of disrespect for black women, because it's about love. And at the end of the day, we got to do better. But if that's your preference, everybody has the right to have a preference. You want a light-skinned chick, that's your preference. But you don't have to devalue and desecrate other black women to prove a point. I'm saying those are the things that we don't hear from black men. You don't hear black women going on about, oh, he light skinned and this, that, and that. No. Yes, we have had that wave of black women who were complaining about black men are not this and black men, but that, and you guys can tell me this or not from a male's perspective, if you've heard that as in the forefront as much in recent years as in past years. Because from what I can see, it has hushed quite a bit, because there's been a lot of work around changing that narrative. And I'm just saying that the same energy needs to be put forward to change the narrative when it comes to black women.
Okay, hold on. I mean, because we moved the goalposts a lot. I cannot let you talk too much. You jump a lot of subjects at one time.
I did it. That was one subject.
Let me say this. Right. Okay. So as far as black men speaking up, right? Where is this happening? Even on this platform, I want to level set something. Black women really do enjoy hearing what they want to hear. So we're going to level set. Derek Jackson has 10 million subscribers. 10 million. Mm-hmm. No man I had never met a guy. This isn't to say I know everybody. I had never met a guy that likes Derrick Jackson. He got 10 million subscribers, right? That means y'all like what he's saying. Versus someone like, and I'm even mediocre tutorials and reviews, who is much more even-minded and even-keeled than Kevin Samuels, 100,000 subscribers, right? So we can say it, but if it doesn't sound the way that someone wants to hear it said, it's ignored, right? Now, for our standpoint, once again, I'm a child of a single parent household. My mother raised me and 3 sisters, right? When I was in my youth, I tried to date. I got shot down a whole bunch. So regardless of, black women really need to wonder, what have you done to black men? Not just because we have a platform. What has happened to the black men that they've been around that might have made black men less hesitant to stand up for them? Because I'm still willing to fight. I just don't want to take certain bullets and then end up feeling like I was used or a sucker for taking those bullets. You know what I'm saying? It's not to say, and I'm not even going to talk about the fact that the spokesman for the black community are freaking rappers and entertainers, because that is the most destructive thing that the white power structure has done to us in the first place. So why not, when if I got up and started talking about black women are the angels and goddesses of the earth, I'm not, how long, what TV station I'm gonna say that on? What show am I gonna say that on day after day, month after month? But you can look at 4 Fox Soul. Mm-hmm. You can watch 4 black women, and they
Fox. Oh, yeah.
You know, and they go off on brothers, right? They got a show on Fox, but what kind of show brothers got saying, hey, we're not that bad. We are actually decent guys. We got nothing. So that's when you say you're not hearing it. It's not about us. You can say about us having this platform, but the point is we don't control media. We get to control this little portion of it, but all of us can say that some black woman, not all of us, but a lot of us can say that some black woman who we've dealt with, because we deal with black women, have done something that was inherently emotionally destructive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you do that long enough, if every dude you meet, you can, whether you like Kevin Samuels or mediocre tutorials or Coach Greg Adams, any of these guys who are men's rights activists and stuff, at the very end, it's not just black women, but you know, it's, when you hear this stuff, you have to say who hurt you. But then you need to understand that all of us got hurt by who? It was a specific set of people dishing out these butt whippings to all these people who are hurt. And it's hard. I can't jump up and defend my oppressor. It's just not. We've been through slavery, and we hate Uncle Toms. We hate those guys who defend their oppressors. But right now, if we're single parent, okay, I'm sorry. Let me level set real quick. Our mothers, single parents in the black community are 80+% black women. They are the ones who disciplined us, whooped us, hurt us, abused us, whatever, even taught us educationally, because it's just women. So 80% of our oppressors, if you want to put it like that, unfortunately, regardless if they did it because the white man told them to do it, were black women. They hurt us. They're the ones who did this to us. These are the ones that made us feel this way. And you can't just jump up and defend your oppressor. Nobody does that. So that's how
I'm sorry. That is, I hear that, and I think, you know, I agree with the hurt part of it from a social work perspective. That I think when I said this before I was actually talking to you guys live, but when one of the times I was in the chat, and I said a lot of this is driven by people's life experiences and their insecurities and things that you know they have gone through. And I even said the twins that's what the first thing I thought about when I watched Kevin Samuels' videos. I was thinking from a social work perspective of his traumas and his life experiences, that this is this is what led him to this point. But I agree that those things happen, and in the same breath, what you're going to say is trying to equalize, but women have had the same experiences with black men. But that does not give you a pass to just continue to desecrate black men, because you have been in relationship with black men who have hurt you. Your father may have hurt you. Your father may not have been there. All of those things may have shaped you into being having a certain type of mindset, but that does not give you the right to desecrate someone. You can speak on your experiences. Absolutely, your experiences shape who you are. But when it becomes like you say this very matter of factly, and you teach this or you spew this in such a way that's negative or hateful or hurtful, that's problematic. That's problematic, because, and to say you don't want to defend your oppressor, then that would mean that black women would never defend black men. That would mean that we would never defend them.
I need you to watch.
You oppress us.
I need you to go watch.
Of course you oppress us.
I need you to go learn about Scheherazade Ali. I need this before. Please don't say black women have controlled the black community for more than 50 or 60 years.
So I never said that anything about controlling. You said oppressed.
Same
black
thing.
Men, the black.
Please watch Scheherazade Ali before you
They're
finish
not the
that
same.
statement.
They're not the same. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. And so when you and again, one thing, one thing about me, in the same way that I can say I know social work, is one thing I know is black history. That is my passion. Anybody who knows me knows that I know my history. Mm-hmm. And bigger than that is I don't try to ever personalize this, right? Because my life experiences are different than your life experience is different than Twins and anyone else who's listening. What I'm saying though is black women women, let's just talk women. Women have been oppressed by men. It's a very patriarchal society. So I heard you earlier say that black culture is matriarchal. And I would agree with you. There's a couple of points within that, but on a general premise, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. About women controlling, or being in charge of the black family. Mm-hmm. But there's a bunch of reasons to that.
Yes, there are.
Black women have been oppressed by patriarchal society, so from all angles. Yeah. And then when it comes to black men, if we go by why would I defend people who mistreat me? So maybe you don't want to use the word oppressed, but why would I jump to the defense of people who mistreat me? Then we would never be to the defense of black men, because most black women, if you ask them, whether it's relationship or whether it's, like I said, it's a relationship with their father, it's a black man, right? They would say, oh yes, I've had a negative experience with black men, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to go out there and try to date another black man, or that if something was happening, you're not going to come to the defense of black men. When they shot down Tamir Rice, those were black women that are like, that little 12-year-old could have been my little 12-year-old or my little brother or whatever, and they came to that. I'm not going to turn a blind eye because black men have hurt me in the past. So that's not a pass for black men not to stand up for black women. That's just not a pass. And I've heard a lot of reasons why black men are not showing up, but I haven't really heard any reasons of why you guys should, or how you are going to, because you like to be solution based. So what can you do moving forward? Having those conversations. Maybe you didn't hear the comments that these guys made that I keep bringing up, right? Maybe you didn't hear them. But when you do hear them, or anyone in your space that says things that are negative like that, which could be their own personal experiences, which is fine. But when you start to say all of this is how black women are, or this is how dark-skinned women are, or this is how women from the hood are, or this is how women from the project, that is problematic. And we have to stop that. No, you have to say, no, that's your personal experience with the people you come encounter with. But when you travel the world, and when you meet more people, you'll realize that that's not the characteristics of everyone. And if that's who you encounter, then you just pass over like, nah, I'm good on them. Just like anyone, they're not good. If somebody mistreats you in a store, you leave that store, you go to another one. Like, it doesn't have to be like, now I'm going to say all Chipotles are horrible because I had a bad experience at one Chipotle. And we can't allow black men to do that to black women because they had a couple of bad experiences. we have to push back, and we need black men to push back. We need them to push back, and we can't allow them to make excuses of why they're not going to push back on it, because then black relationships suffer. They suffer.
Okay.
And that's that. Because I know we've been talking about this a long time, but that's pretty much just circled back to the same point, you know, which is, I hope, you know, because we want to be solution driven. The point of this is to hopefully get black men to see the importance of an alliance with us, and black women too. So I'm not speaking to us as well. But in these spaces where we have these negative generalities that are made about us, that we do need black men to show up and say, So what we ain't gonna do is, but yeah, well, we need that support.
Okay. Well, I can't hear. Okay. Nothing you've said is wrong, and yet it's a lot of it I disagree with. But you've said it. It sounds good. It does. So we'll move on from there. The thing is about and just the level set. I love black women. I don't desire any other race of women. My frustrations with the black women are specifically with my anecdotal evidence. I'm not saying there's a problem. 85% of all black people relationships, regardless of who it is with other black people. So we do like each other. The people who are happy aren't in these spaces. So we're gonna take them off the table. All right. But as far as needing us to ally with you guys and all that, see, I'm not educated enough right now to refute your argument. I'm just going to point out the simple fact of it is that in these spaces, it's not just my voice. It's not just twins. You've seen this. Over the last 5 years, there's a rising chorus of men of our complexion, of our social economic status, that are saying, you guys are messing up. Whether you believe it or not, whether you want to fix it, we are saying, not us, we are saying you guys are messing up, right? Now, if you don't want to accept responsibility for that, that's fine. That you're an adult. But if you're seeing more guys saying that you guys are messing up, even if my boss comes to me and says you are messing up, it's not my boss's job to make me fix it. I have to figure out how to stop messing up, and then, of course, stop messing up. My boss is just dissatisfied with my work. So I keep saying, when I always say men are saying this and men are saying this, because women have been saying it for a long time. You can look up a whole lot of YouTube channels where women have told us what they don't like about us. Recently, we are saying what we don't like about you guys, but once again, only 24% of women get married. That's 76% of women who are not getting married. That's a lot of guys not liking what's being delivered to them. And if they're not having that conversation about what they're not liking that's being delivered to them, well, it's not, if you're selling a car and nobody's buying that car, and women are the car that's being sold in this situation, it's not the customer's fault that they don't want to buy that car. It's the car that needs to be modified or changed.
No, and that's unfortunate that's the perception, because that puts it back straight on the female. Whereas you guys know that a lot of men are just not ready or not in positions to be married, and there are a lot of men.
But you're raising those men as women. Y'all are raising.
But what I'm saying is, if they're not ready, or if they're, for whatever the reason, they or social media, because again, I think a lot of this has to do with social media, has told you that this car, and I can keep looking at cars that are better. I can keep what's Eddie Murphy's comedy special? He spoke about this, right? So the reality, and that was in the 80s. His comedy special was that this is something where every year I can get an upgrade to the upgrade. Every year there's something better. I can always keep finding something better. It takes a certain man to come to a certain place in his life to say, you know what? Yeah, I could keep on out here running and playing the field and having this one, and that one, and makes a decision that he wants to settle down. It's not because he hasn't come across good women. Because I've heard countless men say that they have screwed over a lot of good women in their days of playing the field because they weren't ready to get married. So what happens in that process? Those women that you have come across that you screwed over, you damage them, right? The same way you talked about women got hurt, men got hurt by women.
You keep saying what the man doing, so the woman has no accountability and everything?
I never said that.
Every time you give a scenario, it's about what the man did.
No. Because I've already agreed and I've already leveled that there are women
we
who
agreed to that
up.
too. We know men need
No, you have not.
We did.
No, you.
We
just
you
said
did.
You did. Dark Child has not. You have.
But
what do you want me to say?
What I'm saying is that there is an accountability.
No. I was married for 14 years. I was with my ex-wife for 20 years. I proposed to another woman prior to meeting my ex-wife. So I was willing to commit to this relationship. I was willing to try to make this work. So I understand that you are not perfect and I am not perfect, but in our imperfection, there's some common ground. I get that. This dude sitting beside me is married, and I totally respect his marriage. And I just want to say this, have I ever said anything to you derogatory about you being married?
No.
Okay. But the point being is that at this point, when you say what's wrong with black relationships, regardless of my previous marriage or relationships, at this point in time, where I stand right now, I'm simplifying it. I am on a used car lot because there are no virgins at 40 years old. Okay. So this is a used car lot that I'm out looking for another car. Now, you can feel how you want to feel, but the point is women choose who they sleep with, period. You choose who you let into your body, but men choose who they make a life with. That's all it is to it. If I test drive 30 cars and I don't find one I like, that's not because, it might be because I'm being picky, or it might be because something's wrong with all 30 of those cars, especially if I go and test drive the 31st car and I take it home with me. So when we always saying this on women, once again, women are the product that men want. Once again, I saw a picture of you. I saw your social media picture. You are, as far as being attractive, very, right? As far as being physically fit, very. I don't know about your socioeconomic status, but if I'm the man I'm supposed to be, your money really ain't as important to me as you think it is, right? So at this point in time, if this was a date, this would be a test drive, but you still have to convince me to buy the car, and that's okay. And that's 100% on you as a woman, because I'm not afraid of commitment, and most men aren't. We just haven't found something to commit to. Part of that is social media. Part of that is upbringing. Part of that is upbringing and attitude also. You let's say for you personally, and I'm only using you personally, you pre-qualified. You're a pre-certified vehicle on the lot at this point, right? You got the physical part down, you got the visual part down, and you're intelligent, you pre-certified. So at this point, what is not keeping someone from buying you? What is like, okay, so what else am I looking for in a car outside of this? Like, oh, this might be a problem. This might be a problem. But you pre-certified. So when you say, every time we say women need to be accountable, and you be like, no, men need to be accountable. That sounds like that sounds like engine trouble to me.
Engine trouble.
But to be fair, I never said that. To me, I never said that women are not. I've always validated the fact that there is accountability on both sides. That's been my stance from the very beginning. When I was bringing up recently about the examples is because I only can speak from a woman's perspective. I cannot speak from a man's perspective in relationships because I'm a woman, right? So when I'm giving examples, to Twin's point, I'm only going to talk about from my interaction men. I can't speak to a man's interaction with a woman. I don't know. I'm saying that in those spaces, and I can, and other females that I have spoken to, other women that I've spoken to, there a lot of times it's not because they're not solid women. It's because the men that they have encountered are not in a position, whether they just don't want to, or they're not where they want to be, or they're still working towards something in life and their focus is somewhere else. It's not because there was something faulty with me. And that's to me that's maybe in some situations, of course, you meet a person and then you find someone else and you're like, yeah, I knew I wasn't bugging, that there was better, right? But there's also those times where it's just that the people are not ready. And in the meantime, those women are being hurt in the same way. And because they're being hurt and they've had a negative experience with a man or black men, doesn't mean that they get to then go on like this hate train of like hate. And even when we spoke about the ladies from Dark Soul, I don't really watch them them like that, because anyone who has, anyway, that's not even nice. I'm not even going to say that. But we can also, in the same way, we can sit and watch women and say those women are hurt, or those women are bitter, or those women are whatever, right? Like we can see it as women. We can see it, and that will automatically kind of disqualify, like, yeah, because that's coming from a bitter place. It sounds bitter. It sounds angry. It sounds whatever. That's what men have to do too, because sometimes what I'm hearing a lot is like this is a lot of hurt experiences, a lot of hurt little boys living inside of men's bodies, and they're speaking from hurt little boy places, and women are they're the brunt of that. But that's why it's important that you become whole and you heal, especially if you want to date, especially if you want to marry, because you're bringing all that hurt with you into a relationship and expect that it's going to work, and it's not. And if a woman brings all her hurt and puts all her hurt and stuff in the relationship, and how whatever happened with her prior situations, it's not going to work because you ain't hurt her, right? So it's the same thing, and that's what I mean about accountability. Like, we can't just make it seem like it's one fault or the other. There is an equal, as much as you don't like that word, there's an equal accountability that has to be had for this to work. And my only point again is, when those spaces, when you have those opportunities, when you are talking to guys that are around your age or younger or older or whatever, and these type of conversations come up where we start to like really devalue black women, those are the spaces where those are teachable moments that you can't pass up. Those are teachable moments where it's like, so that's not all, because that is not all. And I'm saying that to you as a black woman who has knows a lot of black women. That is not true. We're not all hood rat, loud, this, that, all these things. It's just not true. And we're not the only hyper or over sexualized people. That's also not true. So my only hope from all of this is that, you start to, even for you two gentlemen, when you are places or in your own conversations, even the way you guys communicate around, and I'm not saying you guys do this, but even the way you guys communicate around black women, you keep that in mind, that words have power, and you guys do have influence, whether you don't have the same platform as a Derek Jackson, but you guys do have influence because you influence the people around you, and you definitely influence your kids. So, just to be more mindful in how we represent each other, because we want to keep promoting black love, healthy black love, healthy black relationships.
Oh,
and that's
wow. It. Amen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think this has been a wonderful, great conversation, dialogue with both groups. Sherri, thanks again for joining in. You done dropped the mic on us right here. Boom. Except the Dark Child, you jumped the mic as well too. Yeah, I feel like I was the referee, because y'all was like ding ding ding. You were. I'm like, hey, let me jump in and get some of this.
I can see my queen.
So listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, thank you for tuning to the show. Definitely men, I have to keep my men accountable. Fellas, I'm going to need you, to be accountable for your actions. Pick and choose wisely, and also try to be great mentors and leaders to your young men.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to say this. I'll go you one better right now for sure. I'll go this one better. I no longer bite. Here's the thing. This conversation might seem chauvinistic, and I do that, period. No apologies. But I don't let anyone slide. Whether it's my nephew acting an idiot or my sister or my mom or my cousins. I no longer keep the peace for peace sake. And it has caused a lot of difficult conversations. So if you really want the black community to be better, period, learn to say what you know is right and quit biting your tongue because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
That's my last statement.
I like that.
That's a good one. I like that too. Okay. Sherri, anything else you want to close out before we wrap it up here? I mean, I think you did already, but let me give you another shot.
That's it. That's it. I appreciate you guys. We had a long dialogue today, but I do think it was a good one.
Man, it was fantastic.
Make sure y'all go follow Sherri. Her name on IG is bodywright. She's also in the fitness field, so she will get you right. So make sure you follow her, show her some love. Please leave comments. Say again. Go ahead.
I said appreciate that.
Always. Got to throw the plug in there, right?
Yes.
Listen, and also, that's why I'm throwing another plug in there. So, ladies and gentlemen, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and 3 p.m., I do have another show called The Real Deal versus How You Feel. I have a co-host. Her name is Miss I Speak Life. You can follow us on Stereo app. My username is Twinsinc, and her name is Miss I Speak Life. But tune in. We have also great conversation debates similar to this as well. So I like to have a dialogue with women as well because it keeps the playing field, even. You know what I'm saying? It's not just men over women. It's like,
we don't need any more echo chambers.
Right. So you hear my point, you hear her point. It's unscripted. So tune in on that as well. We'll see y'all next Sunday.
Same bat channel, same bat time.
And we out.
Peace.
Bye, Sherri.
Good night.
Bye.
Happy D-Day.
Later.